week. There's no disguising this one. Number 1, Tennessee at number 3, Georgia. Oh, by the way, I think how you view Alabama is in part how you view Tennessee.
Yes.
Because if they're truly the best team in America right now, you don't look as poorly upon a 3-point last-second field goal to lose on the road to Tennessee. Here's what's crazy about Tennessee's win last week. They didn't have to go insane on offense. It was actually the second time this season they've not gone over 500 yards against Kentucky. They held them under 500 yards, and Tennessee still won in a ho-hum 44-6 fashion in this game. That's how good the Vols have been this year. What do we believe about Georgia? Do we believe they simply went through the motions against Missouri in a game they almost lost? That they went through the motions against Kent State and couldn't really defend Sean Lewis's offense, which is similar to Josh Heupel's offense very well, and they've been building to this moment, and they showed a lot of that a week ago against Florida, and they're just now stockpiling to go back for another national title, and they handle Tennessee easily in this game? Or do we feel like Tennessee's offense simply can't be stopped, even against the best defense they faced this year in Georgia, and they'll continue to roll and score points? Guys, the underrated facet of this game is not necessarily Georgia's top defense against Tennessee's top offense. It's, can Tennessee slow down the Georgia running backs and affect Stetson Bennett? Because I think Georgia has a great chance to hold, serve, and score every possession as well in this game, just like Tennessee does.
Let me go first, because I know you'll have more. You know, Georgia only has 2 of last year's defensive starters back. This defense is really good, but it's not as good as last year's defense. Less disruptive. We know they're not sacking the quarterback. They're 122nd in sacks per drop back. That doesn't mean they're not applying pressure, but they're not finishing it. They're 91 in havoc rate. Tackles for loss, interceptions, passes broken up, forced fumbles divided by overall plays. They rarely blitz. I'm curious to see if they'll change that. And do they put Ringo, their best quarterback, on Hyatt, or do they try to strategize that differently? Doing all of this reading makes me feel less good about Georgia's defense, and I'm obviously way up on Tennessee's offense. So, I think Tennessee's going to do better than cover. I think it's a dream season like you were talking about, and I think a dream season means they go through the SEC season, regular season, undefeated.
The dream continues is what you're saying.
Tennessee's going to get theirs. I also buy into Kirby Smart getting his. I don't think Kirby Smart gets embarrassed. I absolutely believe Tennessee can win this game. I'm confident in the cover. I think it's a classic because I'm confident in both quarterbacks. I'm confident in both offensive weapons in the passing game. I'm confident in the fact that both teams can run the football. Here's the difference, though. Tennessee, they've completed at least one pass, usually more than one, of at least 45 yards or more in every single game. The other teams among the top 6 in college football, based on the playoff right now, they don't come close. Ohio State has 4 of those in games with at least one pass of 45 yards or more. You've got Michigan with 3. Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama have 2 apiece. 2 games with at least one pass of 45 yards or more. If Hendon Hooker hits the layups deep, he missed on these last year. Go back and watch the game. They schemed guys open, and passes were 5 yards further than the wide receiver who was running wide open. This will be a different game. Hendon Hooker is ready.
He's better at it. He's better at it.
He's already showed us that at home. This is a massive game for them. Big game for Stetson Bennett, too. And I think people have reason to trust him in this game. This is a classic. This comes down to the wire. It can go either way. Tennessee's covering.
It's going to be a fun environment, fun game, regardless, with some stars on both sides. And the thing with Ringo's a good corner, and they've got great talent, young talent, but good talent in the secondary. I just feel like, the people talk about, are they going to double Hyatt? I'm thinking Cedric Tillman and Brew McCoy are there too. Like, have fun. If you're going to try to double someone in the secondary, someone else is going to have a big day with Tennessee's offense. I like this idea, by the way, from James on Twitter. You can follow us at OutKick360 and hit us up. He says you guys should do a recap of Withrow's top games on Monday and reorder them based on the actual compelling nature of the games.
That's a good idea.
Just on the top
order
10.
our review in that
I like
fashion.
that. I can easily do that for Monday.
You know what? And we'll buy some things off the money will win on the upset picks across the NFL.
You just said about the Tennessee-Georgia game, you're confident in this, and this. I'm confident that during this break I'm going to go get a drink.
Yes. Right. Sweet.
And next, we'll tell you who's going to win outright in the NFL this weekend as underdogs. That's next on OutKick 360.
Hey, listen, if you missed my show, don't at me. I've got you covered. Take a look. Jeff Bezos, along with maybe Jay-Z, I don't know, maybe not. I got no idea whether any of this is true, but this has been reported. Jeff Bezos, along with Jay-Z, may bid on the Commanders. Look, if I'm Jeff Bezos, there's no doubt I want to be the owner of the Washington Commanders. And if it helps me to bring in Jay-Z, then God bless Jay-Z. Or if I'm Jay-Z and I got that kind of scratch and can put a group together, there's no doubt that I want to be the owner of the Washington Commanders. And if I got to bring in Jeff Bezos, and I bring in Jeff Bezos, either way. You know what I'm saying? Either way is cool with me. But I know a lot of people are celebrating, and I mean big time celebrating, that they won't have to see, hear, or look at Daniel Snyder anymore. And obviously, big hitters like Bezos, big hitters like Jay-Z would be first in line. I've seen where people have put out signs that say, "Save us, Bezos." Well, they ain't wrong. They ain't wrong. And I hope it happens. And I hope it happens sooner than later. But remember this. It isn't an official declaration of sale. You know, that's not so far what Daniel Snyder has done. What Daniel Snyder has done is he's commissioned the Bank of America to look at transactions within the operation. And that could mean as little as something we'll never hear about, or full sale, or it could mean minority shares up for grabs. I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. But let's go Bezos and Jay-Z. I'm all in on it. Anything that makes it better, anything that makes it more interesting, and anything that gets people that seemingly aren't exactly the best people. 9 to 11 Eastern Time at OutKick.com.
Hey guys, it's Tommy. In case you missed any Tommy Lahren is Fearless, here's what you missed. Less than a week till midterms, and our president isn't giving a speech on all the Democrat accomplishments because there aren't any. Instead, Mr. Dementia is rambling through yet another speech on Trump and January 6th. What a crock of utter crap. It's time for final thoughts. So what do you do when your popularity, the economy, and your party tanks? When inflation sits at a 40-year high, strategic oil reserves at historic lows, the border you're constitutionally required to protect is overrun, your status as commander-in-chief and leader of the free world has our enemies, our real enemies, literally laughing, and your own party's candidates are begging you to stay the hell away from their races? Will you get up and you deliver some cockamamie, tired, overused, moronic drivel like this?
I know there's a lot at stake in these midterm elections, from our economy, to the safety of our streets, to our personal freedoms, the future of health care, Social Security, Medicare. It's all important. But there's something else at stake. Democracy itself. I'm not the only one who sees it. He woke him up. He wanted to tie him up. The assailant ended up using a hammer to smash Paul's skull. Thankfully, by the grace of God, Paul survived. All this happened after the assault, and it's hard to even say. It's hard to even say. After the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol on January the 6th. There's an alarming rise in the number of our people in this country condoning political violence or simply remaining silent, because silence is complicity.
Tune in Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Tommy Lahren is Fearless as we break down all things 2022 midterms and more.
Rochester fan.
Can't wait for the weekend. Glad you're with us for OutKick 360
Cheers.
across the OutKick network.
I mean, screw waiting on it, Hutton. It's here. The weekend's arrived.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The weekend.
weekend.
The
Yeah.
weekend. When toe hits leather, it's the weekend.
Can you
tomorrow.
imagine if we actually had the weekend coming up at 3 p.m. for an interview
That'd be
after
great.
this?
Hey,
We also have a special surprise.
the Christmas lights thing in my neighborhood has been solved. One of the dudes found a reasonably priced guy. And lights are up on my house and ready to go when the regulations permit.
Instead of $8,000, it's $5,000 this year.
Ricky in West End?
Yeah.
No, I didn't even talk to Ricky.
You know
this
what?
year.
Let's make some money. Let's pay for Paul's Christmas lights on the house. It is time for my
On the
upset
house, literally.
picks of the weekend
Crush
across the NFL. I've got 3 for you, and I'm starting with Jacksonville over the Raiders. Jaguars over the Raiders. All 6 of the Jaguars' losses this season have been by 1 possession. 8 points or fewer. Jacksonville, the only team with a losing record, but a positive point differential. The Raiders have a league-low 9 sacks. Trevor Lawrence, it is time to play well against a bad football team and a bad defense. I'm taking Jacksonville outright. They're at home, and they're the underdog. Seahawks over the Cardinals. Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker III. That's why. And including
How are they not favored?
Arizona's at home. I don't know.
That's a bad spread right
I-
there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're finding gold there.
Arizona is now better because DeAndre Hopkins is back, but Seattle, even at home, they were a 2.5-point underdog. They beat Arizona 19-9 in Week 6, despite going 1 for 5 in the red zone. I'm saying they're not going 1 for 5 again. I'm taking Seattle on the road in Arizona.
I like that one.
Falcons over the Chargers. They can climb above 500. Seriously, for the first time since 2017, Atlanta enters Sunday's contest. They allow a league-high 307 passing yards per game. The Chargers are 31st in the NFL in scoring defense, and they're terrible at run defense. Atlanta is excellent at it. Give me the Falcons at home, despite the Chargers coming off
That's
the
a
bye.
sneaky
I
good
love
game.
this, Hutton. I parlayed Jacksonville, Seattle together because I'm most confident,
Okay.
and then at a separate bet on Atlanta. So I'm set to make a lot
I
of
will
money.
All
get
of
it.
these
I
are
will get
separate for me.
involved.
When we come back, headlines, and we'll discuss the top games across the NFL. OutKick 360, getting you ready for the football weekend across the OutKick network.
If you're looking for a place to bet on a game today or a futures wager, head to OutKick's Odds Finder. OutKick.com/odds. It's where you'll find spreads, totals, and moneyline odds for every upcoming game. I love it because it's super easy to navigate. Bookmark OutKick.com/odds and make OutKick bets a part of your daily sports betting routine. For bets decided by season-long results, head to OutKick's Futures Finder. OutKick.com/futures. Just select your state, place your bet. It's honestly that simple. And similar to the Futures Finder, the Prop Bet Finder allows you to search by player, team, or game for any sport. Check out the OutKick.com/props, and from there, click the Odds tab. You'll go directly to the Sportsbook to place your bet. Boost your game day experience with OutKick Bets. OutKick.com/bet. Get the edge with OutKick Bets.
Glad you're with us for OutKick 360. And we're glad you're viewing us right now across the live stream at OutKick.com or across the social media platforms. And on this great radio station, if you're tuned in, hit us up on Twitter at OutKick 360. That's how you can interact with the show as we get you ready for the great college football weekend. An hour from right now, Austin Price of Volquest.com will join us. He will preview all things Tennessee and Georgia as we see the top teams in college football meet between the hedges tomorrow afternoon. We've got Alabama, LSU to talk about and much more. This hour, NFL. Plenty of good games. Armando Salguero joins us in 20 minutes. We'll break down the biggest headlines across the National Football League, and we kick things off this hour with the top games of the NFL weekend. The Vikings, guys, they are on the road against the Commanders. The Commanders have battled their way back. They've won 3 straight. They're now 4-4 on the season. The Vikings are 6-1, and I've counted them out in a couple of these games. I did last week against Arizona, for instance. I'm not counting them out here. They have continued to win tight ball games. They were not doing that a year ago, and they're very balanced offensively. They're getting great play from Zadarius Smith defensively and getting to the quarterback. Washington, meanwhile, they're winning very close games, low-scoring games. Minnesota's a different animal at 6-1.
Washington win would put them over 500 for the first time in the Ron Rivera era.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's on par with the other team we were just talking about not being over 500 since 2017. This is not quite as bad.
Atlanta.
Only 3 guys left in Washington that played with Kirk Cousins. That shows you the turnover in the league. One-score games, Minnesota 5-0, Washington 4-1. I was at that loss against the Titans on that goal line.
This is Kirk Cousins' first game back. It's hard to believe that. This is his first
considering
time
they're in the
back.
same conference.
Yeah, considering I almost forgot he played in Washington when we brought that up,
It's
right?
hard to remember because he said, "You like that?" Remember?
Yeah,
that was
that's
the big,
it's a very
marketing moment.
Very popular meme for sure, and GIF.
And by the way,
or GIF, however you want to say it.
All 4 of the Commanders' wins have been by 6 points or fewer. So whatever the over/under is and the spread, I mean, it's 3.5. It's for a reason. This is a tight window ball game. I'm taking Minnesota to make the plays at the end. It's a fourth-quarter game.
I don't like Washington at all. I just think the Vikings are going to gradually fall back to earth, and this might be one of the games that helps them do so.
So, to me, this game is, if Washington wins at home, we're going to come back next week and say, should we start taking them serious?
No, we can't take them seriously in their division.
Well, I'm not talking about the division, but 5-4 is going to – the question's going to be asked, if they can beat a one-loss Minnesota team, should we take them seriously? And then if Minnesota wins, it's, are they seriously a contender for the best team in the NFC alongside Philadelphia?
I got to say no to both of those questions. Either way.
They are decent on defense. Decent. Offensively, they can beat you multiple ways. And you know that's my criteria of winning in the postseason.
But the quarterback's so shaky.
They're going to win their division. I think, is that –
Oh, I was talking Washington, sorry.
Oh, Washington, not Minnesota.
Yeah. No, keep going on Minnesota.
You were talking Washington too?
I'm talking both. I'm
he
saying
was
regardless of outcome.
No, you keep going with Minnesota.
It's one of two. Like Washington is just back to, they're not very good.
I've been on the fringe with Minnesota. You guys know I'm out on Washington.
Yeah.
With the Vikings, though, like they're going to host a game that's great. I think they're a team built to win on the road in the postseason as long as they don't have to go on the road every single week on their way to Glendale.
Does anybody in the NFC get good beyond Philadelphia?
Dallas.
You know, Dallas would be next. San Francisco
San
getting
Francisco.
healthier. But, you know, Minnesota could get 2 rounds deep in the playoffs pretty easily and not be good still.
I also still think
but
it's
the
going to
difference
be.
is they're 6-1 though.
It could be Tampa or Green Bay to follow up on your
One of
question.
them we would think is
one
going
of
to
them
catch on.
can get good, right?
But they both might suck.
It's time to stop overlooking Minnesota with a road win, and it sounds crazy, against Washington.
Yeah, the 4th best team in their division.
4-4 in the division. Just moving on throughout the NFL. Bills on the road against the Jets. No Corey Davis in this game. He's going to miss the second consecutive game.
Just bad.
And he's been effective when he's played this season. And they're waiting this out. They're making sure that this is not something that's going to linger into December whenever they're trying to make a playoff push.
The Jets have not scored over 17 in their last 6 meetings against the Bills. Bills are scoring more than 17 points in this game.
Yes.
Boom. End of story.
Yes, and their defense is legit. I'm with you. Zach Wilson has not won a game yet in his 4-game win streak since coming back from injury.
And he's coming off a terrible 3 interception.
I want to feel better about Zach Wilson. I really do.
They have to win despite
But I don't.
But
I feel great about the Bills. Don't feel good about him.
Here's the thing about the Jets, though.
I like the Jets.
You guys know where I'm
Just
coming
not
from on
week.
this. There's always the really good team that will go into New Jersey. And Zach Wilson is good for this one big performance.
He did it against the Titans last year.
And you're looking around going, what are they doing? Right?
I like the Jets. I don't like them against
Their
the Bills.
defense is very good, too. I'm taking the Bills, though. The Bills are dominant. This is a bad week. The Jets needed to win last week and could not. Give me the Bills on the road.
I love the Jets roster and the young
The build
talent.
is good.
Sauce
The build is
Gardner
good.
especially.
Yeah, they're like the
Who I know
Bengals
you're a
last
big
year.
fan of. Yeah, but I don't yet love Zach Wilson. So I can't fully fall in love with this team until I believe in the quarterback more than I do right now, and I don't particularly believe in this guy at this point.
That's a pretty good build, though, with the quarterback question going on.
Seahawks are on the road against the Cardinals. Arizona's favored in this game. DeAndre Hopkins is getting 51% of the targets since he came back from injury. And
Murray is
rightfully
22.
So. He's tearing it up whenever he's targeted.
Murray's 22 of 27 for 262 yards and a touchdown to Hopkins in 2 games back.
And he started, 7-0 last year with Hopkins before the injury.
But I don't know what they're doing favored in this game. I mean, Seattle beat the Giants last week, a very good team. Seattle is good. The Cardinals are not.
Geno Smith, again, 6 games this season with multiple touchdown passes. Coming into this year, he had 7 games total with multiple touchdown passes in 9 years. Now, some of that was on the bench, but still, this is unbelievable. I don't know how you don't buy into him the same way.
What is the threshold of games to officially buy into a team?
Yeah,
I'm watching
That's
Seattle,
a
and I'm
computation
thinking,
we need to
well,
make.
not even buy in, buy out, cash out on Arizona.
both.
This is not the Rams and the 49ers.
But this is where I think preseason bias gets involved, because I'm guilty of this. I thought they sucked. I laughed at Pete Carroll when he talked about Geno Smith and Drew Lock and them being okay at quarterback.
Yeah.
And they were going to be fun. I've been proven wrong. But how long am I going to go with this mental block of not buying into what they're doing with Geno Smith and the fact that they are a legitimate contender?
They're legitimate.
In the NFC. I think that they probably are.
If
but
you
we
think
need
the
to get to that
Seahawks are
point where
legitimate,
we're
the
actually
Vikings
buying
are
them.
too.
Yes.
Let's just. But let me. This is not me patting myself on the back. I picked Arizona to win outright. I did not win last week. Arizona had a chance to go win the game, and Zadarius Smith in Minnesota had a massive sack that practically ended the game. The Seahawks defense, they have Tariq Woolen, a rookie 5th-round pick, matched up in many cases against DeAndre Hopkins. Tariq Woolen is second only to Sauce Gardner for Defensive Player of the Year. I cannot wait to see this matchup, because I think Vegas is telling us Hopkins is winning this matchup, and they're going to go to him 50% of the time on targets.
I think so, too.
I like Seattle in this game. This is a Hutton. You have a double the spread, you like to say on things?
Yes.
This is one I'll just say wrong spread.
It is.
Wrong team
But
favorite.
that's a danger, because sometimes the wrong spread means the team on the wrong the team you think is got the wrong side of it actually wins it.
Rams are on the road against the Buccaneers. Since Tom Brady's been in Tampa Bay, he's 0 for 3 against the Rams, including the postseason. It was a classic game in Tampa the last time we saw these two teams play. Rams and Buccaneers, and it feels like this is a playoff eliminator. We'll ask Armando Salguero about that exact topic coming up in 10 minutes, but the Bucs are favored by 3, and that should tell you something about how bad the Rams have been offensively, both in giving up sacks, at quarterback play and throwing pick sixes, and also run game. These are the 2 worst rushing offenses in the NFC.
Bucs are getting healthier. Carlton Davis with a hip, cornerback questionable. Sean Murphy-Bunting, the slot corner, questionable. Akeem Hicks, defensive tackle, questionable. Antoine Winfield still out with a concussion. On the other side, Cooper Kupp, the designations aren't out yet for the Rams, I don't think, with his ankle. He was limited, though, on Thursday. Cooper Kupp against Todd Bowles as the head defensive man with the Rams. 183, 96, 145, 121.
Wow.
And none bigger than the catch he had last year to set up the game-winning field goal to go to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
he's
not even the score.
He's got his
It's
number.
The big comeback by Tampa, and then it was Cooper Kupp across the middle to set up the long field goal attempt for the win.
This is an elimination game, I
I'm
feel
with you.
like, for both teams. I think the winner of this game can get some hope going, can get some momentum going, feeling like they did something, and can start that November, December climb to relevance into the playoffs. I think the loser of this game is headed to a quick golf course once the regular season ends.
Rams
I really
coming
do.
off a bye week. They're 3-4. The Bucs are 3-5. And Brady, it sounds crazy. He can surpass, and I think he will. If he needs 164 passing yards. The dude throws 50 times a game.
100,000 yards.
100,000 passing yards for regular season and postseason.
He said he's
combined.
not concerned with the ball on that. His teammates should be concerned with the ball on
Yeah.
that. That ball's not going out of play anywhere. Get that ball, give it to the equipment guy, get it in a case.
Both of these teams, just briefly, made no moves at the trade deadline for the run game. They're awful in the run game. Look, they've got options in Tampa and goal line. That's practically it. They're trusting on what they have. So Cam Akers is back with the locker room now in L.A. We'll see which team cranks up on the run game. That's the difference. And if either of these two teams end up making the postseason, because right now they have a lot of issues. Sunday night football, 5-2 Tennessee on the road at 5-2 Kansas City. Paul, many are not giving Tennessee a chance here. And the Titans traditionally in the regular season, play very well against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored currently by 12.5 points.
That's related largely to Ryan Tannehill, who was limited for the second day in a row at practice for the Titans. Mike Vrabel didn't make a declaration on him today, kind of let a reporter guide him into saying game time decision. I don't think it's a game time decision. I think it's a travel time decision.
Well,
they leave for Kansas City tomorrow. They do have a long day on Sunday.
Can I just jump in on this? I think the illness.
You've been a guy that's on a plane.
The illness kept him from traveling last week.
Yeah, I'm not so sure they would have
him out of the
taken
game. Logan Woodside on the practice squad travels to road games this year. Just look at you can see Logan Woodside with a headset on. Tannehill's not going to make the trip if he's healthy.
Well, I think you keep him off the ankle is the thing. You don't want him standing around for 3 hours when he can have his feet up.
Don't put him on cleats in front of reporters for a press conference.
Well, he's practicing that day, but then you get him 2 days of rest instead of getting him on a plane and getting him on the thing.
How I think they want to travel him because I think
we'll see.
I think they know they need him. I think he's very close.
Need him.
He's very close. If this were a high ankle sprain, he's not.
It's not high, I don't think.
But yeah, right. But he's not doing these
limited participation
practice running up. He's not doing any of that. I think he has a chance to play. The question is, how much can he hurt himself if he continues to do it, knowing that the offensive line is not protecting him over the last couple of games where they've won, but he's still getting hit. He wasn't, even though he was mobile, he's still getting sacked 5 times in Washington. Now he's immobile.
And he's pretty good at moving out of the way. And that's a big part of his game. And I don't know that he's going to be able to do that.
Exactly.
And he mentioned that Wednesday when he spoke to us. He talked about being able to protect himself. I don't know that he'll be able to do that. Malik Willis, listen, I understand they won without him. He only needed to throw 10 passes, yada, yada. He was terrible. Don't fool yourself into anything else. There were open receivers. He couldn't see them. He couldn't find them. They had one play that was schemed up brilliantly to the rookie tight end. He had no pressure on him. Didn't see him early enough. Couldn't find him. I mean, I don't care how inexperienced a rookie quarterback you are. On that play, you've got to be able to make that throw. I threw out today, I'm getting crushed on Twitter. Based on what I saw last week, Logan Woodside's terrible also, but he can find an open receiver, can identify an open receiver. I know he's not going to hit him 100% of the time,
right?
But he knows who he is and where he is and what he's supposed to do. That's better to me than Malik Willis. I'm getting roasted for that take. But look, it's a Derrick Henry game. He's run for 544 yards against the Chiefs. Only at 5.4 average against the Chiefs. Last game in that win, 2.9. They had Mahomes fumbled twice and picked them off last year. They beat them 27-3. But that's Kansas City was going through that transition, right? They had a lot going on. Everybody was playing the two shell against Mahomes. They had to figure it out.
It was more than that, though.
I know, but Kansas City left here and won 8 in a row.
Well, and
they figured things out. Titans got them at the right time last year.
And they have either held a lead or have been tied in the fourth quarter for 20 consecutive games since that game.
Chiefs might be getting the Titans at the right time, or getting the Titans at the right time.
But they won 27-3, Chad. Derrick Henry did not have a rushing touchdown, and he ran for under 70 yards total in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
29 for 86.
86, sorry. Less than 90 yards total. 29, 30 carries, 86 yards.
That's a tough game.
He did have a passing touchdown. They've got to roll out some of these things that they have practiced that they have not used.
Dontrell Hilliard.
I'm not talking about the end around to Malik Willis here. They've got to find ways to manufacture points. I go back to Kevin Byard with the fake punt pass touchdown to Dane Cruikshank. They have to find explosive plays for an offense that doesn't have them.
And the defense and special teams need to do things.
They're going to load the box with 9 guys, 8.5, 9 players in Kansas City, Chad.
All the time.
Why would you not? What other threat is there in this game? And I think Vegas is laughing at everyone taking the Titans on the spread.
I don't see any way the Titans are competitive in this game, quite frankly. That offense was atrocious last week. They're saved by their defense. Well, here's the bulletin for you. This is not the Texans' offense they're facing this week.
Colts.
Even though they've had success against the Chiefs in the past, I just don't see it. And, Paul, to your point about, start Woodside in this game, one of the reasons you draft Malik Willis is his legs. So if you're not going to run him at times and get him running, then, yeah, just bring in some stiff that can sit and go through go through the entire look of the receivers and everything else like a Logan Woodside. If you're not going to fully unleash Malik Willis to what you drafted him to be, he's not a guy that's going to run the same offense as Ryan Tannehill when he's in there, and he's not going to do a good job of doing it. We saw that last week. So I just don't see any way the Titans are competitive in this game.
Titans got absolutely embarrassed on Monday night in Buffalo, but Tannehill didn't play the fourth quarter of that game, and it wasn't because he was hurt. It was because the game was out of range. Here's what Kevin Byard, the excellent safety on the Titans, told me at paulkuharsky.com about the shape of this game. And he was talking about wanting primetime redemption based on that Buffalo game because this is Sunday night football. He said, I think our identity as a team playing physically on offense and defense, I wouldn't say they're the opposite, but they're more of a finesse team. With their speed, we're not going to win a track meet. So hopefully it's going to be our style against theirs, and we'll see whose style is going to end up winning. And they fully believe they can win defensively with Derrick Henry.
They can.
Without much of a passing game. America doesn't look at it and think that. That's why it's a 12-point spread.
They can, but they need help in that. What he's not saying is we need a fumble on a punt return that we recover at the 34, and we have short field, and at minimum we're getting a field goal.
We need Mahomes to mess up when he's sacked by Jeffrey Simmons.
David Long does his film study the way he's done all year, and he breaks a route and has a pick that sets us up at midfield. The reasons why you buy into the Titans is because of their head coach. It's because of Jeffrey Simmons and Kevin Byard, who play big in these games and big every week. It's because you buy into Christian Fulton, moving from young up-and-comer and capable and with potential to a guy playing with some veteran savvy that's breaking routes and understands the game plan as a number one guy. I think he's played very well recently. And then Derrick Henry turns into, post-Halloween, if you look at his numbers, the baddest man in the NFL. That's why you buy into it regardless of quarterback. But Tannehill needs to play if they're going to win.
They've reduced the big plays allowed, but Kansas City's really good at those, whether they're yak plays or downfield plays. And here's the problem. They mix it up in the slot. Kadarius Toney might show up there now too, but Mecole Hardman, they don't have anybody that can run with him. And Travis Kelce, Titans are without Amani Hooker, who suffered a shoulder injury last week. He's out. And they're without Elijah Molden, who was activated into his practice window off PUP, but is not activated to play in this game. So they don't have as many options as they need in the secondary. They've been very creative in what they're doing there, but they haven't faced this many options with the Colts and the Texans. Kelsey's a killer, we know that. Hardman, Tony, there's a wave of people coming at them. Can they
And
slow
Vrabel
these
gets a
guys
ton
down?
of credit for winning after bye weeks. What is it, 10-plus days or whatever?
Chiefs around one now.
Chiefs are they're coming off a bye, and Andy Reid throughout his entire coaching career, even back with Philly, is 20-3 coming off a bye. They do it right, and we'll find out if the Titans are true playoff caliber contenders based on this matchup, because they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, and they're saying we're good enough to win. We're going to do it this way.
It's a hard way to
Okay.
do it. It's a hard way to do it against a team like Kansas City, against a team like Buffalo, which they had no chance against doing it. You can do it this way against the Commanders, the Raiders, the Colts twice, the Texans. And they've done a good job. They've got a 5-game winning streak doing it against those teams. But I see a big red stop sign a big Chiefs red stop sign this weekend.
We continue the NFL discussion with Armando Salguero. We will begin by discussing the buy-in from the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa based on what they did at the trade deadline on defense, to signal that he's not just on a prove-it year. They're continuing with Tua Tagovailoa for the long term. We'll get Armando's take on that and much more next on OutKick 360.
Was there a moment that you always look back to from Black Hawk Down and you said to yourself in that moment, I am not making it out? Like, I will not survive today because of this one thing.
It was kind of the entire day, the entire night. There was a portion of time, I think, in the middle of the night where things kind of calmed down and it wasn't as chaotic, and we were just kind of sitting waiting for guys in helicopters to get extricated and things like that, and it wasn't until the sun started to kind of peak back up where you're like, oh, this is going to turn back on again. But for the initial assault and 2 or 3 times that I went out into the city, it was just I don't think any of us are going to make it out alive. And so every time we would kind of get back and be secure and all right, get more ammo, and we're going back out to try and find this other crash site. And I didn't think that it was happening for any of us. I kind of came to peace. I was just telling my son about this actually the other day, but I kind of came to peace with, okay, if I get hit in the chest, like I've got a plate carrier, hopefully that stops it. If I get hit in the arms or the legs, chances are I'll live. And if I get hit anywhere else, it's probably going to be pretty quick and traumatic and over. So I hope that I remember thinking specifically in the middle of the afternoon, I hope that I can just look at the blue sky and have something peaceful to look at, not this whole, what I'm looking at in front of me. I hope that's not my last moments. And that kind of gave me a little bit of peace.
This one, I picked it because the caption's just frankly funny. And it's also geotagged your mom's house. It says balls deep, as we used to say, long before it was a popular term. The meaning to us referred to how far into bad guy territory we were. These are a few picks from that day, and also a pick of us getting ready to go. We lost a mate on this day, Andy Fernandez. Although he was brand new to the unit, he had just been assigned, he left his mark, and will forever be etched into historic endeavors. R.I.P. Andy. So I know you probably can't get into specifics. The caption's hilarious, the top half of it anyways. But Are you able to say anything about what this Instagram post is in relation to?
That was post gunfight. I think it's been talked about in some book, someplace. So I don't read any military history stuff, so I don't know. People will send me things sometimes where oh, this must be from this book that so and so wrote about. I don't know. It was kind of post gunfight. We were outnumbered and surrounded by 130, 150 dudes, and had at least beat everybody back enough that that was kind of that moment when that picture was taken. So we didn't necessarily know at the time it was any gunfight is a scary moment, and, you don't really necessarily know the outcome. But it was almost, for me and where I was, it was almost a fun gunfight. Like, they couldn't hit me where I was, and they couldn't hit my group where we were based on the terrain. And so we were almost kind of laughing, running back and forth, shooting at these guys over here, go grab some more ammo, go shoot at these guys over here. And so it wasn't, a terrifying moment. It turned into not to be a terrifying moment. But then we started hearing radio calls, hey, we got some people hit and injured, and okay, well, now this is a serious thing. It's not a funny thing anymore. And if anything, the post kind of reflects that, where,
Right.
Initially, hey, haha, fun. This was, a good day. And then, somebody paid the ultimate price that day. And but that's about as much as I can say.
Previewing the big football weekend across the OutKick network. Glad you're with us for OutKick 360. And as always, glad to be joined by Armando Salguero of OutKick.com, covers the NFL for OutKick. Armando, great to see you, and hope things are well.
Things are great. Oh, wow, Chad. Very cool, brother. Very cool. Got the sunglasses.
You like these
rocking
sunglasses?
The sunglasses. Very nice. Here, let me
Don't
help
left
you
him hanging.
here.
Yeah, I wasn't alone for a while. Everyone else had sunglasses on. They took them off, and then I was the lone ranger.
I have to flip to reading glasses, Armando, anytime I want to look at a note, so it's a lot on and off.
And I love Armando has the glasses on too, which
Great.
is awesome.
And we are at least outside. I know some that will wear sunglasses inside. That's not me. So we are at least outdoors while I'm wearing them.
And we know you're at a stadium, so now he's Stevie Wonder.
And he's at Orchard Park, it looks like. Armando Salguero
Please
with
don't
us.
disparage the blind like Jerry Jones did with his Halloween
Armando,
costume.
the investment in Tua Tagovailoa continued at the trade deadline for the Miami Dolphins, right? I mean, this is a sign that the Dolphins are all in with Tua beyond this year, based on what they've traded.
Well, it's a sign that they're all in because they have to be at this point, to be honest with you. So they started the year out with 2 first-round picks, and when they were making all these moves, everyone said, well, they're putting a good team around Tua, and if he doesn't succeed with that, there's always the next draft, and you have enough draft capital to go get a elite-type franchise quarterback. Well, then the NFL tampering/tanking investigation happened, and they had to forfeit a first-round pick plus. And then obviously the trade deadline came, and they gave up a first-round pick for Bradley Chubb. And so now they have no first-round pick next year. They're not going to be getting a quarterback. It's obvious that Tua is going to remain their quarterback, and they feel good about it because there's a confidence based on what they've seen earlier this year.
Bradley Chubb, obviously an excellent player. He's also missed a lot of games, hurt. How do you weigh the risk there? That's the big thing with, to me, the 2 biggest trades, McCaffrey to the 49ers and Chubb to the Dolphins. If those 2 guys have clean resumes and are healthy, I wouldn't hesitate to make either of those deals. But given their injury histories, I'm a little worried on both ends.
Well, you saw, Paul, that on the same day, two different teams had two different opinions about that injury history. And the Denver Broncos, who know Bradley Chubb better than anyone, they decided that the guy's missed 22 games in the last, 3 years? And to pay him going forward, to give him the kind of money that he wanted in guarantees going forward, was something that they were not comfortable doing. The Miami Dolphins, they see what we see, and they've seen, his injury history, and they gave him $63 million guaranteed. So, I mean, who's going to be right? I don't know. I'm not Karnak, but I can tell you that both teams are very happy with the way that they proceeded. The Broncos, weren't going to go anywhere. They were barely probably going to contend for a playoff spot this year. And they've got guys that they need to re-sign and extend next year and beyond. The Dolphins, they're all in right now. And they've got a quarterback on a rookie contract. So if you're going to be all in, that's the time to do it.
Armando, is there a chance that the Houston Texans go one and done with their head coach in back-to-back seasons, from David Culley to now Lovie Smith, and they're going to move in a different direction?
Well, they're definitely going to move in a different direction at the quarterback spot, Chad, excuse me, I'm sorry. And they're definitely going to adjust the coaching staff below Lovie Smith. If that rises to Lovie Smith's got to go, the way that I think is going to be measured is, do these players play hard for Lovie Smith? Does he lose the locker room? Are his game plans and his coaching staff's game plans good? Pep Hamilton, we'll see. That offense isn't lighting anything up. They found a running back, but they haven't exactly, inspired anybody. I think Lovie Smith probably survives, assuming they continue to play hard like they did last night. But with the Texans now, it's a tough situation in that where's the light at the end of the tunnel? Because, it's not this year, obviously. It's not next year. It wasn't last year, and it wasn't the year before. So how long is this organization that was once upon a time, a perennial playoff team, how long are the fans going to stick with them when the other teams in town, they're doing pretty good?
Armando Salguero, our guest. Let's stay in Houston, but let's talk Brandon Cooks, who's back with the team today after not playing last night on Thursday Night Football against Philly. Brandon Cooks, if released, I'm just going to get – everyone's talking Odell Beckham Jr. If released, is Brandon Cooks the Odell Beckham Jr. of last season? And think about the teams that didn't make a move that could land him or Odell for not giving up anything right now.
Right. So he's not the Odell Beckham Jr. of last year, this year, because he's not as good. Odell Beckham Jr. is an accomplished 9-route in his route tree type wide receiver. Brandon Cooks doesn't run every route and has never run every route. He's good on the deep routes. He's a solid player, and I know that the Dallas Cowboys would have wanted him. But here's the issue with Brandon Cooks, right? He's got $18 million in guaranteed money coming next year. If he's smart, he becomes Mr. Brandon Cooks' good soldier, and he collects $18 million next year. If he finds a way to extricate himself from the Houston Texans, he may be with a better team, maybe, but he's not going to get $18 million guaranteed next year. So I think that's one of the reasons Brandon Cooks is back in the facility today. money talks. Guaranteed money yells. And the idea that I'm going to leave this bad situation and go somewhere and be better off, well, maybe, but not better off financially, that's for sure.
So I understand that when I ask this question, the Packers have the advantage this weekend because they play the Lions, and Tampa plays the Rams. But who's more likely to figure it out this season and make a run to the playoffs, Tampa or Green Bay, based on what you've seen from both teams?
Oh, boy. Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me about the Rams and the Bucks. I want to think that the Bucks are going to be okay. And then I turn to their injury report, and it's not okay. And I turn to their depth chart, and their offensive line is not okay. And I look at their defensive line, and it's not okay. So if you've got basically a mishmash of personnel week to week, it's not that the coaching is terrible, the quarterback play is not bad, it's not that they don't have a good running back, but there are connected issues that prevents them from being okay. Green Bay, their issue is their wide receivers aren't good, they're young, and they've got a quarterback that has no patience for it. And so that is what it is. It's just I don't know that they can save it this season. So I guess the short answer, which I should have given you right away, was I don't think either one of those teams are going to be okay.
Titans are riding a 5-game winning streak, not against great teams, obviously. We know they're well coached. Their style is unconventional, defense heavy, running back heavy. Right now, maybe without their starting quarterback, who's not great, second week in a row. You're looking for some national perspective on what they are. They're the second seed, Armando, somehow right now, heading into Kansas City against the team everybody presumes is really the second best team in the AFC. They got blown out by Buffalo when they played a good team. They're better than that now. But how bad do you think it might be on Sunday night, and what do you think the Titans really are when they do have Tannehill?
Did you read my Derrick Henry story today, Paul? Did you see that on OutKick?
I apologize, I have not.
Oh, okay. So I wrote about Derrick Henry.
I'll get to it. I'll get to it.
And this was basically the story. He's back. When the guy is the October AFC Player of the Year after a September of gloom and doom, and it's over, and he's not the same guy, and he can't stay healthy, and this is an injury that never goes away, and it's always there in the background. He kind of took that and did kind of this to it and that. And
so the Titans.
So that, yes. And so they are back to their formula, which has been they can run the football, they can stop the run, they play physical on both sides of the ball, and their quarterbacks are not good. They were the top seed in the AFC last year doing that. So I think that they're going to give the Chiefs a tough time because they match up well physically against the Chiefs. Do I think they're going to go to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs? No, but I don't think it's going to be like, a butt whipping, and the Chiefs are not going to take the Titans to the woodshed and just start, doing Rooster Cogburn or whatever on them, or whatever that cartoon rooster is with a dog.
Yeah, they have definitely bought into their style of play, and we've talked at length all offseason, this week. That style of play in the postseason is a different story than what they're doing right now. We saw it last year. because they have to have a plan B. You've got to be able to win in different ways in the postseason. And right now, the Titans have a very distinct path to victory. Same as the Falcons, though. And I'm curious where you come down on Atlanta, who can get with a win over the Chargers above 500, Armando, for the first time since 2017. What do you make of Atlanta, their style of play? Their defense is nowhere close to what Tennessee plays, but they're also in a very bad division, and they have a chance to take a clear lead. They're already there, a clear lead with a win over the Chargers this week.
Is that crazy? A clear lead in a division that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play in. It's stunning. And look, Arthur Smith obviously worked in Tennessee and did great work in Tennessee, and he brought that mindset and that philosophy, if you will. They're not a good team. Okay? They're not a good team. And what's more, they know they're not a good team. But are they going to, throw the white flag up the pole and say, we're not a good team, our season's over? No, they're going to fight, and that's part of the philosophy and the mindset. They're going to always give effort. That's part of the philosophy and the mindset. They're going to run the ball. Oh, that's part of the philosophy and the mindset. If Mariota finds a good game here and there, and a good game defined as he doesn't throw 2 interceptions plus, they're going to be okay.
Right.
But I think that's their ceiling, Jonathan. Okay. I don't know. We're not going to be talking about.
That's fair. I'm not. I'm with you. I'm not trying to turn this into Detroit by any means. From 4 weeks ago, but they were like with 2 weeks to go in the regular season last year, they were in the playoff. They were in the playoff discussion, right? Like they were there. They weren't in, but they're better now than they were a year ago, and that's with how much money in dead money?
$78 million of dead money.
This is a great sign. It's a great sign for the Falcons that they're this competitive based on knowing that they don't have Matt Ryan or Julio Jones.
The future is bright, Armando.
At least I think so.
No, and let me tell you why. You've just made the argument for the future. You just made the argument for the future is mediocre. And the reason I say that is the future is bright if they had $78 million in dead money this year and it all clears out next year. And guess what? They've got the first overall pick or the second or the third or the fourth. But we're making the case here that they might be in the playoffs, and where are they going to be drafting regardless? They go 9-8. They go 8-9. They're in the teens. And that's not where the great quarterbacks typically are found. And they need one.
Well, the question is, how's their rookie quarterback who's sitting and watching Mariota? That's the big question to me.
Arthur's telling us.
Well, he's winning with the vote.
But he told us even before the season started, when they were already buried, which he already said the media's they have written the obituary.
Right. So
we shall see.
Yeah, you're talking about the kid from Cincinnati, Ryder, right?
Desmond Ritter.
Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter. Ryder.
I mean, watch them end up with a mid-round, first-round grade on Hendon Hooker, or just let's throw out a versatile quarterback. Kyle Pitts, Drake London. They have a run game with Cordero Patterson. They lack the quarterback. That's the missing piece, and they lack a good defense too.
They can play like the Titans.
But again, it's a crazy scenario where they are about to be 2 games up in the NFC South.
Maybe the great Will Levis will drop to them in the mid-round too, and then their franchise woes are solved.
Hey,
at that point,
the draft is for a different week. We're in week 9. Here we go. Buckle up. Armando's got us covered on everything. Armando, thank you as always. We appreciate you rescheduling for us this week based on yours. And here we go. It's going to be a great football weekend.
And we've got to get this show over to go read your Derek piece.
Yep.
Armando, my sunglasses are coming off in honor of you. The sun's going down behind me, so they're off now. You're welcome.
Sunset in Nashville.
Armando
All right,
Salguero,
man. Always a
OutKick.com
pleasure.
is the site. You can read all of the NFL news and notes there. I need to send him my column on Derrick Henry from June. I'm going to send
Told them that was going to happen.
Hey, the Titans are not going to use him any less than they did prior to the injury. They have to. They just traded A.J. Brown. It was obvious. They bought into it too.
Will we be using Paul's plus money props?
We will be. I use them every week because he hits on a high percentage of them. And if you hit on one, you're making money based on the plus money props that he's about to give you. That's next on OutKick 360.
Hey, listen, if you missed my show, don't at me. I've got you covered. Take a look. Jeff Bezos, along with maybe Jay-Z, I don't know, maybe not. I got no idea whether any of this is true, but this has been reported. Jeff Bezos, along with Jay-Z, may bid on the Commanders. Look, if I'm Jeff Bezos, there's no doubt I want to be the owner of the Washington Commanders. And if it helps me to bring in Jay-Z, then God bless Jay-Z. Or if I'm Jay-Z and I got that kind of scratch and can put a group together, there's no doubt that I want to be the owner of the Washington Commanders. And if I got to bring in Jeff Bezos, and I bring in Jeff Bezos, either way. You know what I'm saying? Either way is cool with me. But I know a lot of people are celebrating, and I mean big time celebrating, that they won't have to see, hear, or look at Daniel Snyder anymore. And obviously, big hitters like Bezos, big hitters like Jay-Z would be first in line. I've seen where people have put out signs that say, "Save us, Bezos." Well, they ain't wrong. They ain't wrong. And I hope it happens. And I hope it happens sooner than later. But remember this. It isn't an official declaration of sale. You know, that's not so far what Daniel Snyder has done. What Daniel Snyder has done is he's commissioned the Bank of America to look at transactions within the operation. And that could mean as little as something we'll never hear about, or full sale, or it could mean minority shares up for grabs. I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. But let's go Bezos and Jay-Z. I'm all in on it. Anything that makes it better, anything that makes it more interesting, and anything that gets people that seemingly aren't exactly the best people. 9 to 11 Eastern Time at OutKick.com.
Hey guys, it's Tommy. In case you missed any Tommy Lahren is Fearless, here's what you missed. Less than a week till midterms, and our president isn't giving a speech on all the Democrat accomplishments because there aren't any. Instead, Mr. Dementia is rambling through yet another speech on Trump and January 6th. What a crock of utter crap. It's time for final thoughts. So what do you do when your popularity, the economy, and your party tanks? When inflation sits at a 40-year high, strategic oil reserves at historic lows, the border you're constitutionally required to protect is overrun, your status as commander-in-chief and leader of the free world has our enemies, our real enemies, literally laughing, and your own party's candidates are begging you to stay the hell away from their races? Will you get up and you deliver some cockamamie, tired, overused, moronic drivel like this?
I know there's a lot at stake in these midterm elections, from our economy, to the safety of our streets, to our personal freedoms, the future of health care, Social Security, Medicare. It's all important. But there's something else at stake. Democracy itself. I'm not the only one who sees it. He woke him up. He wanted to tie him up. The assailant ended up using a hammer to smash Paul's skull. Thankfully, by the grace of God, Paul survived. All this happened after the assault, and it's hard to even say. It's hard to even say. After the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol on January the 6th. There's an alarming rise in the number of our people in this country condoning political violence or simply remaining silent, because silence is complicity.
Tune in Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Tommy Lahren is Fearless as we break down all things 2022 midterms and more.
Coming up in 8 minutes, back to the college football discussion for the jam-packed college football weekend, starting with Tennessee and Georgia. We will have Austin Price of Volquest.com with us. Again, less than 10 minutes from right now on OutKick 360. Glad you're with us. It is time for PK's Plus Money Props of the NFL weekend.
Let's make some money here.
Let's do it.
Let me retweet that really quickly and then spill my drink. Then we'll go from there.
Make it official.
All right, let's get these up on the board. The Rams are going to score under 19.5 points. That's plus 105. Here's why. They average 16.9 points, as crazy as that is to imagine. And the Bucs allow 18.9 points. Both of these happen to be under 19.5 points. So I feel pretty good about that at plus 105. T. Higgins against the Panthers is going to score a touchdown. That's plus 110. Look, the Bengals have to get on track here without Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is the next best receiver. I think they're going to target their next best receiver, and they're going to try to score with him. Tom Brady does not run. What's the one situation Tom Brady runs in?
Sneaks.
He sneaks. What's he going to gain on a sneak? He's going to gain a yard. He's going to gain a yard, and he's going to make us plus 115 when he gains that yard. This is an easy one.
Is this every week?
I don't know, but I'm going to start looking for it every week.
Plus money?
That's against the Rams.
Can I parlay these, all of them together?
So far, you're liking them. Tyler Lockett over 5.5 receptions for the Seahawks against the Cardinals. The Cardinals allow 36.4 passes per game, tied for 26th. That's a lot. 26 heading towards 32. 32 would be the most. I think he'll get a lot of passes thrown his way. DK Metcalf still kind of banged up. Even if DK Metcalf is getting his, Tyler Lockett's going to get his. I haven't felt this good about a four-pack in quite some time. I think you got four winners right there.
The only thing with Lockett is Vegas is thinking that everything is going through Kenneth Walker III now.
Yeah.
Over the last month. Since he's been in the lineup, he started the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He's been dominant. And so does that take away from the targets for the wide receivers? That's the only thing.
I'll take my chances at plus 125.
I'm trying hard to find the over 1.5 yard on Tom Brady rushing yards right now, and I'm failing
I'll coach
miserably.
you.
Tyler Lockett, the last 5 games, 5-7, 2, 5-6. Those are his catches. So 5.5 is about right.
Yeah, it's a good number.
And if you think he's going to do what he did against Arizona, he had 2 catches on 5 targets for 17 yards.
I don't understand the Brady number at all. Maybe the Rams are really good against sneaks.
Well, Donald's there.
But Brady's really good at sneaking.
I guess they're not thinking that it's going to be 3rd and short or 4th and goal at the 1.
You get a 3rd and short every game.
It's still plus money. I like it, Paul. I'm
Thank
taking
you.
it. I'm following you there.
Let's do it. Join us.
Please.
Join us.
Hey, Tennessee and Georgia. You can join us here at 6th and Peabody. If you're in the Middle Tennessee or just the area of the Mid-South, join us for the watch party. Massive one here for Tennessee and Georgia. You can take it all in with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. When we come back, we'll preview the games in Athens. Between the Hedges, the Bulldogs, and the Vols. Austin Price of Volquest.com joins us. We will talk all things. Big matchup in college football. Number 1 versus number 3. We break it down next on OutKick 360.
If you're looking for a place to bet on a game today or a futures wager, head to OutKick's Odds Finder. OutKick.com/odds. It's where you'll find spreads, totals, and moneyline odds for every upcoming game. I love it because it's super easy to navigate. Bookmark OutKick.com/odds and make OutKick bets a part of your daily sports betting routine. For bets decided by season-long results, head to OutKick's Futures Finder. OutKick.com/futures. Just select your state, place your bet. It's honestly that simple. And similar to the Futures Finder, the Prop Bet Finder allows you to search by player, team, or game for any sport. Check out the OutKick.com/props, and from there, click the Odds tab. You'll go directly to the Sportsbook to place your bet. Boost your game day experience with OutKick Bets. OutKick.com/bet. Get the edge with OutKick Bets.
We are live from 6th and Peabody in the beer garden. Why? Because it's Friday before a massive college football and NFL weekend, and it's a beautiful day. Beer garden, jam-packed for Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Austin Price of Volquest.com about to join us here across the OutKick Network. We're going to preview all things Tennessee and Georgia. And later this hour, we will get into the top college football games tomorrow and break it down, including Alabama and LSU. Guys, so Chad's going to try to go dark around halftime.
Ain't happening.
Around Tennessee, Georgia. He's going to try to go dark. He's got to coach his daughter's game. There is no chance, zero chance, that he doesn't hear what has happened in the second half in Athens by the time the game is over.
Agreed.
So
no matter how hard you try.
I am the assistant coach on this squad. My head coach, we have a group meet going with all the parents. I didn't send anything. I just told him what I'm attempting to do. And then he sent a message to the entire group and said, there are diehard Vols fans in this team
organization.
Family. So if you're watching the game, refrain from saying anything post-game or giving any hints about what's happening during the game, because we're going to be on the bench
coaching.
Across from the parents, right? So I'll be kind of seeing what's going on.
You're going to know based on how they're going to be watching the
game.
Reaction. You're gonna know reaction.
I'm not going to read too much into it. I just don't want anyone to come up and say something directly.
But if everyone gathers around a mom's phone, you're going to know that there's a huge play coming.
Look, it's very tricky. I'm not claiming it's going to work, with no problems.
Right.
The issue will be the scorekeeper. There's going to be a bookkeeper and someone working the scoreboard to my left or right, based on where I am on the bench. Right. They're going to be watching the game, so I can't stop them from watching if they want. They're going to have it on their phone. They're going to prop it up. They're going to be reacting, and I'm going to be right next to them on our bench during the game. That will be the problem. That's going to be the issue.
That's not going to be it. There's going to be way more issues unanticipated. Remember in Jurassic Park, the chaos there, you drop the water on the hand, and it could go all different directions, all different things can happen? That's what's going to happen to you. I wish you luck. I admire the attempt, but it's going to fail miserably. I've tried this with European soccer games that nobody gives a damn about in this whole field. And somehow somebody will say something about what Chelsea has done at a game. No, less than that. I know Colin's a fan. I can tell Colin not to tell me.
Here's going to be the issue. I'm going to see a reaction at some point. And the way my brain works, I'm going to know the exact time. And as I'm fast-forwarding, watching every play, I'm anticipating, this is where it's going to happen here. So look at this.
Great.
Thank you.
OutKick 360.
She doesn't even work here.
Season ticket holder Lindsay Standifer.
What great service from Lindsay.
Easy. We're about to be joined by Austin Price of VolQuest.com. Cheers to you, Chad.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And I know we're about to be joined by Austin because I can hear.
Paul, we thought you had a drink.
Yeah.
Very loudly.
We can hear the entire interaction between Colin.
He's going to be with us in about 60 seconds. I'd say like 57 seconds now.
There, we heard it all. It was great.
6th and Peabody, the place to come if you're in the Nashville area. Pre-game and post-game here. Yeehaw Beer, Old Smoky Moonshine. They've got White Duck Taco Shop. Chad's tried them all, including Big Daddy's Dogs, which is also outside here in the beer garden.
That's not true. The only thing I've not tried is the lamb gyro.
Oh, it's great. That's one of my favorites.
I've not done it yet. Yeah.
We've tried it all.
It's one of my favorites.
We've tried it all.
Between me and Paul,
we've tried
it all, and Hutton's tried one thing. He gets the chicken quesadilla every time.
With
is that salad-like? Is there something salad-like about it that draws you to it?
Hutton finds one thing he likes, and he just sticks with it.
I appreciate it more.
One thing.
I appreciate it more. Austin Price of VolQuest.com joins us as we preview Tennessee and Georgia.
It's like Austin with Christmas decorations.
There might be one up. Is there one up? Let's bet.
We won't see because he's by phone only today. Austin, I hope you're doing well. And, man, what a massive game in a season that we have not predicted whatsoever for Tennessee.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, nobody saw this coming. I mean, even if you thought, I thought, I picked 8-4 before the season started. I thought Tennessee could be better than that, but in no world, where in my world did I think Tennessee would be 8-0 going to Athens, Georgia, playing for a spot, not just in Atlanta, but realistically, if they win this game, whoever wins this game, they're going to go into the SEC championship game undefeated, and in my mind, lock in a playoff spot. So, it's wild. And, I think if you've learned anything from this season is don't doubt Tennessee this year. They're a team that's played well together. They've kind of come together, and, they play very, good complementary football. At times when the defense has struggled, the offense has picked them up. Go back to the Pittsburgh game. The offense kind of struggled at points. The defense picked them up. Special teams has come up big at certain points. And this is a game where Tennessee goes in. I don't think they fear Georgia. I don't think Tennessee fans fear Georgia. That just, when you look at, the rivalry over the years, this game's been more competitive. And Tennessee's won it more than the Georgia or than the Florida and Alabama rivalry the last 15 years. So I think Tennessee goes in there feeling like go play our game and come out with a W.
Austin Price with us, Volquest.com. They've got you covered on all things Tennessee athletics, and by far the best when it comes to the Vols football program. So we've seen the line. Georgia favored by 8 as they host Tennessee tomorrow. We saw the line as Alabama came to town a couple of weeks ago in Knoxville. And while it was a 10-point spread then, I think many thought, well, probably, can Tennessee play on this level? And they did. So as you saw the line in Vegas open up this week around 8.5, what did you think about Josh Heupel and where Hendon Hooker is and how this offense is going to produce game in and game out, and the fact that we haven't seen the defense slow them down yet?
No, and in Georgia, while they're really good, they're not what they were a year ago. And anybody that thinks they are is probably overselling Georgia a good bit. I mean, they're really good. But last year was 85 Bears, 2,000 Ravens type generational good. And, I think Tennessee can score some points tomorrow. It doesn't mean they're going to win the football game because Georgia offensively, even though they're not super dynamic at wide receiver, they're ridiculously dynamic at tight end. And Georgia's always going to be able to run the football. So, they're an offense that's produced right there behind Tennessee and the SEC. And, Tennessee will have to play its best game to come out with a win tomorrow. But you're right. Nobody's kind of slowed Tennessee down to this point. Tennessee's not had that kind of off game where they've turned the football over. Hendon Hooker, continues to just amaze at his ability to, put the ball on the money, don't put it in harm's way, don't give it to the other team, and continue to put up massive numbers and score points. So, I think Tennessee goes into this game really, really confident, and really, really grounded. We've heard the last few weeks Hendon Hooker talk about after the Alabama game, this team's goal was to go to Atlanta. We said it back in January, they said, and, it's kind of been the driving point. So I don't think they'll let themselves get too high, get too low. I don't think they see the college football playoff rankings and bat an eye.
So much is going to be made about Tennessee's offense versus Georgia's defense, and I understand that because it's the best offense in America versus the second best defense. But Georgia's offense is second best in America also. So my question, Austin, is Tennessee's defense, I feel like, has been underrated, and people want to make a lot about the passing statistics in their defense, but that's also a product of the games they've been in. Did they find another gear and another level against Kentucky last week that they can now flex against Georgia in this game?
I don't know if they can flex, Chad. I think Kentucky is just very average at throwing the football. I think all that Will Levis hype is great, and I get the measurables. I mean, he looks like $1 million coming off the bus, but, he did not look like $1 million forcing the ball and underthrowing and everything else he did last week. So, I think maybe Tennessee might have stumbled into something at Danico Slaughter, a physical kid that can cover. Brandon Turnage is obviously more of a gamer than he is a practice player because, they hadn't been able to get him. He's not been able to get on the field, and all of a sudden, due to injuries, he's forced in there. And, he's handled himself pretty well dating back to his action against Alabama and then last week against Kentucky. So, I do think that Tennessee's defense is a little better than the statistics, say. And I don't think Georgia's as good as their statistics say because I don't think they've played the schedule Tennessee has. You go back, Oregon's their best win. That was right out of the gate. How would they fare against Oregon right now? How would Oregon fare against Georgia if they played right now? And, again, I think Georgia's really, really good on both sides of the ball. I think just when you look at overall where they are really 2 in both. I think it's probably a little worse than that, but I still think that they're an uber-talented team that, deserves every right to be the number 1 team in the country based off the fact that they're the defending champs and they've yet to lose. I mean, I think, if I'm Georgia, I'm playing up the fact that, hey, we're not number 1 in the college football playoff ranking. We've never lost, and I think that they'll come in motivated early. The crowd will come in motivated to be loud early. But once you get knocked in the mouth on either side, all that kind of goes away, and it's just about playing your own game.
What do you think Georgia does with Ringo in terms of letting him follow somebody around? Is he on Hyatt? What's your educated guess as to how they deploy their best cover guy?
I don't think they'll move him around. I could be wrong, but I think they'll just kind of keep him in a locked-in spot. Maybe they just say, Tennessee's pretty, they move Hyatt around, but they're pretty self-explanatory other than that. Tillman's going to go out wide right, and Brew's going to go out wide left, and it'll be like that the whole game. So they may go, hey, you just go out wide right, you're going to handle Cedric Tillman the whole game. And maybe they do move him around, but, I think just kind of pick your poison, right? If you want to put him on Jalen Hyatt, then they'll just start working, Tillman and Brew, especially Tillman, who I think will be ready to go and 100% tomorrow. And if they want to sit back there and add another DB to to their scheme and drop, a lot to the defensive backfield, I think Tennessee will be more than comfortable to try to, work the short passing game and try to run the football. I think Josh Heupel and Alex Golesh, while they love to score points in a hurry and take vertical shots, they are more than content to sit there and, pop off 7 or 8 yards at a time on the ground.
Austin, Tennessee has run the ball 61 times more than Georgia this season. They've thrown for more yards on fewer attempts. What is the matchup that no one's talking about that at Volquest you guys have been stressing all week?
Well, I think it's, you talking about Tennessee offensively to Georgia defensively or anything?
Yeah, either way. I think that both teams have great reason to feel like they're winning the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I think both teams should be confident, right? I think this game boils down to Tennessee's ability to get off the field on third down. Not allow the tight ends to, go down there and, set in the bubble at 8 yards on the 3rd and 7 and get an easy catch and move the sticks. And not let Stetson Bennett, who is a sneaky good athlete, extend plays. When you get a chance to get to him, you've got to get to him. And you go back to that Alabama game, we said this last week, if Will Levis is playing quarterback for Alabama, Tennessee's got 5 or 6 sacks. Houdini was playing quarterback for Alabama in the form of Bryce Young. Stetson Bennett's not Bryce Young, but he is better than Will Levis. So he can avoid and elude. To me, Tennessee's got to make sure that doesn't happen, that when they can get home, they get home.
The real outlier for Tennessee offensively this year has been the Pitt game. And I brought this up going into the Kentucky matchup. If they could replicate what Pat Narduzzi did defensively against Tennessee. My question, though, Austin, is looking back at that game, and what was, for Tennessee, a poor performance offensively, was that more of what Pitt was doing or what Tennessee was not doing? And when you look at all those dudes on Georgia's defense, isn't this a team that can very easily say, okay, we're going to attempt that and see if we can hold them down under 30 points in this game?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't know I don't think Pitt's the best matchup for Tennessee, but I also think some of that was self-inflicted on Tennessee's part. At that point in the year, Tennessee, the offensive line was not what it is now. They're a unit that's playing with so much confidence. Even a guy like, you look at offensively, Ramel Keaton stepped up, but really a guy like Princeton Fant wasn't playing with the confidence then that he is with now. And so, for my liking, I just think that, the confidence of the offense, the confidence of the team in general carries a certain weight. Again, doesn't mean Tennessee's going to win the game tomorrow because Georgia will be equally as confident. But I think they go into this with a certain mindset to where I don't think that they worry about anything Georgia throws at them, on either side of the ball. I think that they'll be ready. And I think even if they were to get punched in the mouth early, they've shown the ability to respond this year, and I think you'll see them respond.
I've said this all week, Austin. I feel like this is a Cedric Tillman type game because Georgia's not going to have a lot of busts, but Tennessee's going to have plenty of opportunities to throw it up in man-to-man coverage, one-on-one, when they want. And we know who the go-up-and-get-it guy has been for Tennessee. Is Tillman completely healthy, and do you agree that this could be a big reintroduction game for Tillman?
I do. I think that this is a game where you'll see him get used a lot. And I think, last week he played more snaps than they had intended to, but then once the game got to a certain point and he didn't have to play, they shut him down. They didn't keep him out there. Played, about 40 snaps last week, and, I think he'll be good to go. The one thing you didn't see him do last week with him was, put him going vertical. And I think that's something you could see this week, some wrinkles where, it's a look at where Hyatt has been going vertically, but Hyatt breaks it off, and you see a stutter go to Cedric Tillman, to get vertical and see, how Georgia responds to that.
Austin Price, you can follow him on social at Austin Priceless. How do you see this game going tomorrow, Austin?
I picked it 44-35. I just think Tennessee's too tough to slow down. I don't think Georgia is what they were a year ago. A year ago, Tennessee went to the red zone 5 times. They didn't cash in a whole lot. But, again, this is a different Georgia defense. They lose Nolan Smith. They get Jalen Carter back, and he's a phenomenal player. But I think they really needed both those guys against Tennessee. They'll plug in some really highly touted guys. But I just don't think that it's the same that we saw a year ago, and I think Tennessee has an excellent shot to go on the road and get a win. Either way, I think it's a really, really good football game.
Austin, what do you make, if anything, of Josh Heupel's very laid-back, almost jokey demeanor all week with every media availability that he's had? He seems very loose going into this game.
Well, I think Coach Heupel's loose in a lot of games, especially when it comes to his team. And so I think he's tried to that's kind of the persona he's tried to implement, especially this week with them being one in the college football playoff. He doesn't want to seem tense because, his players can sense that. And, Coach Heupel's naturally a confident guy. As someone told me this week, I imagine, this is very similar to what it was like, working, with Coach Spurrier, back in the 90s. Offensively, there's just so much confidence going into every game. You feel like you can score. Doesn't mean you're going to win them all, but there's confidence that you will go in and be able to put points on the board against just about anybody. And, I think that's a good way to put it.
I do feel like one of two things happens. One, either the Vols struggle to reach 30, or we see Kirby Smart in a post-game presser look bewildered based on a play that hit that they have actually seen on tape, that they practiced against, and that they were ready for. We saw Mark Stoops admit that after the Tennessee-Kentucky game. I think one of the two things there, and because of that, I don't think Georgia's capable of blowing out Tennessee. You can mention blowout, but whatever spread you want to put on that, I would put 14+. Meanwhile, I think Tennessee, if they get up the same amount, 18 or whatever it was early on Bama, I don't think Georgia's coming back from that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Kentucky couldn't. I won't say Georgia can't. But I just think that if Tennessee gets up 18, I don't know if you're going to have that, unless it's kind of like where Georgia scores at the end of the first half, gets the ball to start the second, and wins that middle 8 because of timing. I don't disagree with you, but I do think there's a scenario where, if they fall behind 18, that they could potentially get back and make it a football game again. Again, it's for a playoff spot. It's for a spot in Atlanta to play for the SEC championship. Tennessee's playing with house money tomorrow. Now, nobody expected them to be here. They get to go in as the underdog, even though they're 1 in the college football playoff ranking. And, I think if you're a Tennessee fan, win or lose, you've got to be tickled pink with kind of where this is headed under Josh Heupel. And let's face it, Tennessee's not losing either of the last three because Vanderbilt, Missouri, and South Carolina, while capable of beating just about anyone on a Saturday, can't score with Tennessee. They can't score enough to beat Tennessee, in my opinion.
Austin Price, Volquest.com, the site. They've got you covered all weekend. Austin, appreciate it, man. Enjoy it, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Austin Price, Austin Priceless on Twitter and social is where you can follow him. Volquest.com, the site. When we come back, we'll go straight college football. The top matchups for tomorrow. We will end with our big thoughts on Tennessee and Georgia. We'll also weigh in on Alabama, LSU, and much more on OutKick 360.
Was there a moment that you always look back to from Black Hawk Down and you said to yourself in that moment, I am not making it out? Like, I will not survive today because of this one thing.
It was kind of the entire day, the entire night. There was a portion of time, I think, in the middle of the night where things kind of calmed down and it wasn't as chaotic, and we were just kind of sitting waiting for guys in helicopters to get extricated and things like that. And it wasn't until the sun started to kind of peak back up where you're like, oh, this is going to turn back on again. But for the initial assault and 2 or 3 times that I went out into the city, it was just, I don't think any of us are going to make it out alive. And so every time we would kind of get back and be secure and all right, get more ammo, and we're going back out to try and find this other crash site. And I didn't think that it was happening for any of us. I kind of came to peace. I was just telling my son about this actually the other day, but I kind of came to peace with, okay, if I get hit in the chest, like I've got a plate carrier, hopefully that stops it. If I get hit in the arms or the legs, chances are I'll live. And if I get hit anywhere else, it's probably going to be pretty quick and traumatic and over. So I hope that I remember thinking specifically in the middle of the afternoon, I hope that I can just like look at the blue sky and have something peaceful to look at, not this whole, what I'm looking at in front of me. I hope that's not my last moments. And that kind of gave me a little bit of peace.
This one, I picked it because the caption's just frankly funny. And it's also geotagged your mom's house. It says balls deep, as we used to say, long before it was a popular term. The meaning to us referred to how far into bad guy territory we were. These are a few picks from that day, and also a pick of us getting ready to go. We lost a mate on this day, Andy Fernandez. Although he was brand new to the unit, he had just been assigned, he left his mark, and will forever be etched into historic endeavors. R.I.P. Andy. So I know you probably can't get into specifics. The caption's hilarious, the top half of it anyways. But Are you able to say anything about what this Instagram post is in relation to?
That was post gunfight. I think it's been talked about in some book someplace. So I don't read any military history stuff, so I don't know. People will send me things sometimes where like, oh, this must be from this book that so and so wrote about. Like I don't know. It was kind of post gunfight. We were outnumbered and surrounded by 130, 150 dudes, and had at least beat everybody back enough that that was kind of that moment when that picture was taken. So we didn't necessarily know at the time, like it was any gunfight is a scary moment, and you don't really necessarily know the outcome. But it was almost for me and where I was, it was almost a fun gunfight. Like they couldn't hit me where I was, and they couldn't hit my group where we were based on the terrain. And so we were almost kind of laughing, running back and forth, shooting at these guys over here, go grab some more ammo, go shoot at these guys over here. And so it wasn't, a terrifying moment. it turned into not to be a terrifying moment. But then we started hearing radio calls, hey, we got some people hit and injured, and okay, well, now this is a serious thing. It's not a funny thing anymore. And if anything, the post kind of reflects that, where,
right.
Initially, hey, haha, fun. This was, a good day. And then, somebody paid the ultimate price that day. And but that's about as much as I can say.
From 6th and Peabody with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine, we welcome you back to OutKick 360 across the OutKick Network. Big college football games, the big games this weekend. Guys, Texas Tech on the road against TCU. The Frogs favored by 8.5. And when you look at the college football playoff rankings and you start comparing resumes, TCU knows they can't lose. Just based on how the rankings, look at where Alabama is.
There is no margin for error for the Horned Frogs.
And knowing that Oregon's right behind them. Point being, Texas Tech only an 8.5-point dog on the road to TCU. To me, I'm paying attention to this tomorrow, where I think Texas Tech goes in and gives them a game. Am I crazy?
I haven't seen much of Texas Tech this year.
We have seen some craziness where last year's a prime example. You have some losses at the end. Ohio State, ends up being 6th or 7th in the final rankings when it's all said and done. Point being, we've seen crazier things happen than the Raiders beating TCU.
I think this is interesting.
Over-under is nearly
It's a single-digit line, and TCU's the home team against Texas Tech, who's right around 500. That's interesting to me. Now, if I had to guess, where will TCU fall? And I believe they will. It would be Texas or Baylor that will be the ones that get them. But no, I wouldn't be shocked if it's Texas Tech. Look, this is a team that's capable of going to Fort Worth and winning. I just feel like TCU, if they're going to drop one, it's going to be Texas or Baylor or a Big 12 championship. But we talked about it when the playoff rankings came out Tuesday night. TCU is the loser in all of this.
Yes.
Because they lose, they have no chance. Tennessee loses tomorrow, they still have a great chance. I would say better than 50% if they went out to sneak into the back of the playoff. TCU loses one game, they're out.
Well,
There's
they
no chance.
deserve a chance with one loss based on the schedule? I mean, the teams we're talking about.
No, they don't.
Texas is good, Baylor's good.
What they deserved is better than 7.
To start.
Yes.
Yeah, to start. They deserve their moment early because they're ultimately, we think, going to lose, and they should have had a celebratory week.
Even at 7th, if they keep winning and you see Tennessee, Georgia,
Clemson,
and, Alabama's playing LSU's 10th, there's
things could have fallen into place for them.
Ohio State still plays Michigan. There will be matchups where if TCU just continues to win, they're in. That's apparent based on the view that they have right now.
It's not that far from 7 to 3.
Still, they cannot
to 4.
They cannot have any let up. And to Chad's point, there are a couple of games where you look at and be like, best chance. But then I look at the spread and I look at the over-under. The over-under is 69.5 between Texas Tech and TCU. It's a shootout, which means it's a fourth quarter game, and I will not be shocked if we see some upsets. TCU, we haven't talked much about that game. If you start looking around college football, though, I think a lot of people believe that Tennessee can beat Georgia. A lot of people believe that LSU can beat Alabama tomorrow.
Notre Dame, Clemson, maybe not, but
No.
maybe so.
I'll be watching and pulling for them.
Look at the spread.
Not going to happen.
Point being, tomorrow could be a massive college football shakeup.
What is the spread on the Notre Dame?
3.5.
Really?
Clemson's favored by 3.5 on the road.
I
Small
think
line.
That's a hopeful spread.
So Alabama and LSU, under the lights in Death Valley. The Tigers have been playing great for 3 straight weeks since they lost to Tennessee. Alabama, they put up 49 against Tennessee, missed a field goal at the end. Tennessee drives down the field, gets a field goal to win. Where do we see the Tide right now versus where we see LSU? And what's the line of demarcation for this matchup tomorrow night in Baton Rouge?
Do we believe that LSU, since the Tennessee game, is truly this juggernaut we saw against Ole Miss and Florida? Or are they more of the problems that you saw against Tennessee and at times in those games too, but against Tennessee and then against Florida State? Here's what I'll say about Alabama's front against LSU. LSU's offensive line is not that of Tennessee's or Texas or a team that's given them problems. Will Anderson should feast in this game.
Yes.
Alabama's front should feast in this game. Daniels is a type of quarterback that he wants to be unscripted, right? He's not a let's get the snap and let's go to my first read or look at 2 or 3. Jalen Daniels is the guy who's going to get the snap, and he wants to run. He wants to improvise the moment he gets the snap. Does that work against Bama's defense the way it did against Ole Miss, or the way it did against Florida? I'm starting to lean more towards you, Hutton. I don't think so, but I have seen some crazy bleep happen in Death Valley at night and in this series for years and years. We watched Saban teams that dominated college football go up against LSU, and what did I always say? LSU's not scared. That's the one team on the schedule that has the dudes athletically that match up well with Alabama that aren't scared. Having laid all that out, though, maybe LSU should be scared of this matchup. I think Bama is clearly the better team
a rare week,
with a much better quarterback.
A rare week, I feel like we're overlooking the Crimson Tide. That's why my money's with Alabama covering.
And also, why did Tennessee win, Paul? Hendon Hooker matched Bryce Young, right? He matched him in that game, and he has the ability to do that. He may win the Heisman Trophy.
Going to happen.
It's not Daniels.
The rankings say no, but do drunken fans at Tiger Stadium say yes to rushing the field should the upset happen?
Yes,
it's happening.
Absolutely.
And does Alabama then clear the field without incident?
They will, because they've done it many times except for Knoxville.
Well, what's funny is
6 previous times, no incident.
All eyes are on them, right?
If they know it's over, if it's one of those like they're up 10 with a minute
Get
left,
off early.
I think Saban would just tell everybody not in the game to leave.
All eyes are on one player, not Alabama.
That would be an amazing video of Jermaine Burton just being escorted off the field before it all goes down. Hey, let's get this guy out of here in case something happens.
Well, we don't understand.
I don't think they're rushing the field, though. I think Bama wins.
No, I know, but I
We're
just want to play the hypothetical game.
We're going to get to it with our last game of the week, but I have thought, does Georgia rush the field, beating the number 1 team in America and winning this game? It sounds hilarious, right? But it's a win at home over number 1 in the country.
You can't.
Okay.
As the 3rd-ranked team and defending national champions?
I say no. I say
No
you should
way.
not. I say you should not, but it's incredible how the mindset around playing Tennessee has changed so quickly now for all these
That's
teams.
a big win. That's not a storm. There's no storm the field win for Georgia this year.
If you are the undefeated defending national champion, you should not storm your own field against anyone.
You should turn and leave the stadium.
But will someone try it, and will that lead to more people doing it?
I'd be embarrassed for Georgia if they did that.
Just want to have a great night. I mean, that's why they're doing it.
That's what you tell the cops?
Yeah.
I just really wanted to
have
a good
great night by turning and getting a good spot in the bar.
Yeah, I just really want to have a good night, officer.
Many of these kids can't.
So many have said that before.
Or the frat.
Many of these kids can't get a great spot in the bar.
Get a great spot in the frat.
Yeah.
Well, their bar is taking a selfie with the flask they snuck into the game and swigging it at the 50-yard line after the game.
Swig it in the stadium.
So
that'd be ridiculous.
Look, just looking forward here, Clemson on the road against Notre Dame. 3.5-point favorites on the road. I feel as confident in Clemson as I do Alabama, in the fact that I feel like I'm more certain about who LSU is and who Notre Dame is based on the body of work here. But my preseason perception of both Bama and Clemson hasn't changed all that much. Clemson, to me, was a top 10 program. So if you want to put them at 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, I still think they're light years better, top to bottom, better coach, the whole thing, than Notre Dame, even on the road. Same thing for Bama tomorrow when it comes to quarterback, running back, defense, the whole thing. I think Vegas is trying to set up everyone based on recency bias this week, and they're going to point to, well, the house money is backing the favorites for a reason, and it ends up being not even close to what the line ends up being.
See, I completely disagree with you. I'm going to go big here. We're going to wake up the echoes. Notre Dame's winning this game. Notre Dame has the defense and the guys up front to slow down Clemson's rushing attack.
Ooh.
I feel like the Irish are going to shock the world and win this game at home. It would not be a shock to Vegas based on a 3.5-point spread, but I think that Notre Dame can muck this thing up to a level that will make it low scoring, and the Notre Dame faithful, maybe, some religious part of it also comes into play at night at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's going to win this game.
So do we get a quarterback change during that for Clemson?
I think. Well, yes. If they're losing in this game late, there's going to be a quarterback change.
Oh, losing this game by halftime. I'm not even late, but I still think Clemson wins. If religion played a factor, Notre Dame would be Alabama right now.
Win all the time, yeah.
So let's just throw that out there.
Or maybe BYU, depending on which way you go.
It's so weird to root for Notre Dame.
They're 4-5, by the way, BYU.
And it's so weird for America to root for Notre Dame. It's very uncomfortable.
Why? They're
I you don't like them the way.
There's a massive majority of Catholics who would disagree with you on
No,
why they
I
root for
know,
Notre
but
Dame.
non-Catholics generally in America are
rooting for
prone to
Clemson to
root
Bama.
against Notre Dame.
People like to root
the
against.
way you root against the
Paul,
Yankees or Bama or whoever.
Let me give you a little lesson about America, all right? People love to root against Notre Dame, but you know what we love more in America? The underdog.
Yeah.
And we want to see the unbeaten power go down. So
know, but
they
it's
will
hard
root for – I will easily flip. I've got parents, aunts and uncles, cousins that all grew up hating Notre Dame and would root against them all the time. When Notre Dame was Notre Dame. When Notre Dame stopped being Notre Dame, which, let's face it, happened when they lost at home to Marshall to fall to 0-2, people started to root for Notre Dame again. Why? They're the underdog. They're the underdog against Clemson. As a Tennessee fan, also, I want Clemson to go down. But America will root for Notre Dame Saturday night.
Oh, I know.
Mark my word.
And I will too, but it's harder for me to flip the switch. And every time we get into any kind of substantial conversation about Notre Dame, I'm compelled to mention, as I'll look into the camera here and mention it, it's not as great an academic institution as all of you people think.
Well,
it's
this
not.
comes down to football, unfortunately for you.
No, I know,
it has
but
nothing to do with A, B, C, or D.
Define you people.
Yeah.
Most people in America think it's a great academic institution.
Is it
I know
not?
it's
I don't
not
even
about
know.
that.
Where is it? Where is it in the U.S. News and World Report? I don't know.
I don't know, but people think it's a great academic school. It's not.
So the Irish ranked last nationally with just 5 turnovers forced. 2 of them were last week against Syracuse.
We're going to need more of that.
They're going to get help.
Need to be contagious.
They're going to get help from DJ this week.
That is the biggest point of emphasis going into this game. Can their defense do what they did a week ago?
Hutton,
If
I'm going to take your advice on Alabama. All right,
Okay.
because you've sold me on it.
Go ahead.
Last night I tried to tell you guys the Texans are for real in this game. I tried to tell you,
and you got a
they're going to
12-point
cover.
loss.
They're going to cover. I said A.J. Brown's going to score, and they're going to cover. I think I need you guys to go with me on this.
Chad, I want to, but
Notre Dame is going to win at home. I am going to speak this into existence.
He's
Name
done a better
another-
job with
Give
Alabama
me-
than
give
you've
me-
done. I've tried to get Colin to tell me
give
what he thinks, but he's not
another
answering my text.
program other than Tennessee.
I'm getting a
If not
Hoosiers
for
clap
Tennessee, the college football playoff race is exactly the same every year. The picture you have right now. I'm not buying Notre Dame. I'm buying Tennessee because I've seen it. Did Tennessee slip up against Kentucky?
No.
Did they just keep going? Like
Not even for a little bit.
LSU?
They
No.
won 44-6.
this is I saw the Marshall matchup against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like it's just I don't trust them. I trust Tennessee.
So
that's
with
all.
all
The
the
thing is, I don't trust Clemson either, but
I
Notre
trust
Dame's
Dabo
not good
Sweeney
enough.
based on the fact that he's predicted to do a big fall off of last year, and they're 4th right now based on what the committee has seen over TCU, who's 7th.
So with all the Notre Dame love, let me say this also. Flip side of all that,
Go ahead.
Marcus Freeman is not Brian Kelly. And I talked to some Notre Dame friends of mine about this, and I know it was fun to make fun of Brian Kelly dancing in a weird, like, bro country way to a rap song with a recruit and him having a fake Southern accent and all of that. It's all very fun to make fun of that, and I enjoy making fun of that as well. Brian Kelly can coach some damn football. We don't know that yet about Marcus Freeman as a head coach. I'm not saying he's not going to be a great head coach at Notre Dame. We don't know. But I will say, if Brian Kelly's on the sideline for this game, I feel even better about my Notre Dame prediction, right?
Yes.
At home, I feel a lot better about it.
That's not an option.
Final thought, though. Like, Alabama survives in close matchups because they're very well coached. They've got the best players at the key positions. For the most part, they win despite not playing their best. Clemson, double overtime against Wake. They trailed Syracuse 21-10 going into the fourth quarter. We can keep going. Florida State outgained them by 90 yards, but Clemson scored on short fields of 31, 42, and 18. They find ways to win. Can Notre Dame find ways to beat Clemson? I would just put my money with the Tigers here, and that's just based on what I've seen on the resume for 2022.
Our resident Notre Dame expert has finally chimed in. Colin Warner, our radio producer.
Her name.
His confidence level, I asked him, and he gives me 3 Shamrocks out of 5.
Okay.
Which is very middle of the road.
That's where Vegas thinks that too.
Slightly better than 2.5
My response
Shamrocks
to Colin's confidence is it's better than 2.
When we come back, our confidence level in Tennessee, Georgia. We'll tell you our predictions. We will go into the weekend with the #1 game in college football. That's next on OutKick 360.
Hey, listen, if you missed my show, don't at me. I've got you covered. Take a look. Jeff Bezos, along with maybe Jay-Z, I don't know, maybe not. I got no idea whether any of this is true, but this has been reported. Jeff Bezos, along with Jay-Z, may bid on the Commanders. Look, if I'm Jeff Bezos, there's no doubt I want to be the owner of the Washington Commanders. And if it helps me to bring in Jay-Z, then God bless Jay-Z. Or if I'm Jay-Z and I got that kind of scratch and can put a group together, there's no doubt that I want to be the owner of the Washington Commanders. And if I got to bring in Jeff Bezos, and I bring in Jeff Bezos, either way. You know what I'm saying? Either way is cool with me. But I know a lot of people are celebrating, and I mean big time celebrating, that they won't have to see, hear, or look at Daniel Snyder anymore. And obviously, big hitters like Bezos, big hitters like Jay-Z would be first in line. I've seen where people have put out signs that say, "Save us, Bezos." Well, they ain't wrong. They ain't wrong. And I hope it happens. And I hope it happens sooner than later. But remember this. It isn't an official declaration of sale. You know, that's not so far what Daniel Snyder has done. What Daniel Snyder has done is he's commissioned the Bank of America to look at transactions within the operation. And that could mean as little as something we'll never hear about, or full sale, or it could mean minority shares up for grabs. I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. But let's go Bezos and Jay-Z. I'm all in on it. Anything that makes it better, anything that makes it more interesting, and anything that gets people that seemingly aren't exactly the best people. 9 to 11 Eastern Time at OutKick.com.
Hey guys, it's Tommy. In case you missed any Tommy Lahren is Fearless, here's what you missed. Less than a week till midterms, and our president isn't giving a speech on all the Democrat accomplishments because there aren't any. Instead, Mr. Dementia is rambling through yet another speech on Trump and January 6th. What a crock of utter crap. It's time for final thoughts. So what do you do when your popularity, the economy, and your party tanks? When inflation sits at a 40-year high, strategic oil reserves at historic lows, the border you're constitutionally required to protect is overrun, your status as commander-in-chief and leader of the free world has our enemies, our real enemies, literally laughing, and your own party's candidates are begging you to stay the hell away from their races? Will you get up and you deliver some cockamamie, tired, overused, moronic drivel like this?
I know there's a lot at stake in these midterm elections, from our economy, the safety of our streets, to our personal freedoms, the future of health care, Social Security, Medicare. It's all important. But there's something else at stake. Democracy itself. I'm not the only one who sees it. He woke him up. He wanted to tie him up. The assailant ended up using a hammer to smash Paul's skull. Thankfully, by the grace of God, Paul survived. All this happened after the assault, and it's hard to even say. It's hard to even say. After the assailant entered the home asking, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol on January the 6th. There's an alarming rise in the number of our people in this country condoning political violence or simply remaining silent, because silence is complicity.
Tune in Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Tommy Lahren is Fearless as we break down all things 2022 midterms and more.
Number 1 versus number 3. Tennessee and Georgia between the hedges tomorrow. OutKick 360 rolls on. It's the eve of the big matchup, and we've got plenty of NFL games to recap on Monday as well. Hope you'll join us. We start at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central from 6th and Peabody with EHA Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. The Vols are on their way to Athens, Chad, and we received a text during the break.
We have breaking news from a very reliable source. We won't name the source.
Right.
But a very reliable source. This is not made up. This is official. Tennessee blew a tire on the way to Georgia. So they're on the side of the road currently with their team buses on the way down. Someone, in fact, blamed it on the ghost of Vince Dooley, that he has crept back up, and now this has happened.
You guys won't be surprised to hear this, but if I'm on one of the buses that doesn't blow the tire, I'll be like, yeah, that's a nice thing team-wise for us all to stay here, but why don't we go ahead to Athens and the bus that has the blown tire can get the blown tire fixed?
So apparently now we're hearing that they have fixed it and they're already continuing on their route. Quickly it was fixed.
The reason for that is you have a police escort normally.
Fellas, I'm fine without a police escort. You guys, take the police with your tire. Or let's double up the police.
The police escort matters a lot at drive time in any major city. And given the fact that fan bases are nuts and they know about the time that, and they know the
They know the tour buses that generally bring the.
Hey, Hut, how long is
ahead.
it going to be before you get that tire fixed on your bus over there? Because I got a movie I want to watch in Athens.
Hey.
I got a girl that I know who's visiting me in the
Well, depending on when they want to go through
the
Atlanta,
lobby.
I'm assuming they're going the route through Atlanta and then up northeast to Athens.
This
that's
is a
that's
prime
nice
example.
little
I'm
traffic
impatient
area.
on these trips.
If you have a flat tire or whatever, it doesn't take long to get these fixed based on the fact that the police are with you.
You know,
they're going to get this done for you.
Also, you guys should be saying, well, what do I care? I'm asleep.
It's true. It's also fixed already quickly. By the way, it's funny I bring up Vince Dooley. Barrett Sallee just now posts Georgia to wear a jersey patch honoring legendary Bulldogs coach Vince Dooley
Of course.
against Tennessee.
How do you decide between a jersey patch or a helmet sticker? And which one is more
Jersey patch
prideful?
is way more impactful.
Way more impactful?
Yes.
It's sewn in.
Yeah.
Sewn in.
I'd buy that.
It's much more prominent. You put some on the back
Shoulder
of the helmet.
or
chest.
chest.
Chest
over
plate.
Over the heart.
Over the left. Yeah, over the heart.
I
Right
think so.
there on the chest.
So now, if somebody gets a helmet sticker, I'm going to think they don't really care about that guy.
Yeah, helmet stickers are not as good.
Buckeye.
Here's where I'm coming down on Tennessee, Georgia tomorrow. I'm taking Tennessee to cover.
8.
Right
8.5.
Right now it's 8. If I'm taking Tennessee to cover, mentally I'm telling myself Tennessee's winning the game.
No,
Tennessee's
you're telling
winning the
yourself
game.
they're going to be within 8.
Because it opened at 12 and it stopped at 8. So Vegas and the betting public believes that the Bulldogs' defense is winning the game. I think the Bulldogs' offense has to win the game. And while I believe in Stetson Bennett, unlike many of the betting public, because they're betting on the defense, not the offense, Brock Bowers and Bennett are a problem. But I think we're overlooking the fact that Tennessee has scored against everyone. And if Georgia does it, they're the outlier in the whole path to what we've seen. So it's either a shootout and Tennessee wins close, or Georgia wins close, excuse me, or it's a shootout and Tennessee makes this like a 2-possession game with 2 minutes left in the fourth. So I'm going Tennessee on the money line right now based on how I felt all week. If I'm taking the points, I should take the money line. Because it's either
it's minus 110 or plus 220, so
but
that's
it's either,
a big cash
But
difference.
it's either a 2-possession game or it is a tight window ball. I do not see Georgia blowing out Tennessee. I can see it, and blowout is whatever you want to call it. I would say 2 possessions here because it's number 1 versus
touchdowns.
number 3. And maybe that's not a blowout. Again, it's not a last-second field goal. It is for Georgia. I don't think it is for Tennessee in this game.
So
Am I crazy?
Tennessee's had
No.
2 games away from home all year. One was at Pitt, not the harshest of environments.
Right.
Number 2 was at LSU at 11 a.m., and it literally from the opening kick, LSU fans were out of it because they muffed the opening kick. Tennessee recovered and scored quickly.
And they were sober.
This is a very different environment they're going in. I know Tennessee fans want to make fun of it. I get it. Tennessee's a louder and better environment at Neyland when things are going well than Georgia is. But home field is going to win this game for Georgia. Just like we said at Neyland Stadium, and I thought, it feels like this crowd won't let this team lose tonight when things were going well. I think Hendon Hooker's going to shine. I think Tennessee's going to score some points. I think Georgia's got better players, quite frankly, across the board.
They do.
They've got a more dynamic player on offense in Brock Bowers.
It's not about
They've got a quarterback who can make plays on his own in Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Tennessee does have deficiencies on defense, even though they've been able to mask some of that throughout the year. I think it's a very good game. I think it's a close game. I think Georgia wins at 38-34.
I think Tennessee builds on what it has done. It builds on the Bama game. Georgia is not as good defensively as it was in the past. Tennessee takes that game last year where it didn't do as well, where you were talking about Hendon Hooker overthrew some receivers who had gotten open. Well, he's better. The receivers are better. Georgia's not as good. Tennessee will do better in the red zone. I think they win it, and I'm not saying they win it handily, but I think it's not a last-second play.
That's kind of how I feel. Like it's just a confidence level that this team brings with Josh Heupel and company, and it's a scheme. They don't have to have better players 1 through 44.
Agree.
They have to have the best execution on offense, and I think they can do that. I really do.
Let's look at every game this year and just look at what to expect. If they won't in this setting, but if Georgia plays like they did at Missouri, which is their worst performance of the year, Tennessee houses them.
Yes.
That won't happen, but Tennessee's worst performance is Pitt, and I think even that performance could keep them within striking distance.
I cannot
of
wait.
Georgia. That's how good Tennessee's been all year. That is how good they've been consistently.
Here we go. Tennessee, Georgia. We've got plenty of NFL to react to on Monday as well. Hope you'll join us for OutKick 360 live here at 6th and Peabody, 3 o'clock Eastern. We start on Monday.
Don't block the box. Lock your locks. Have a great weekend. See ya.